Okay guys, another part of our beginner fishing series. I'm going to rig a little, again, got my little tackle box out here, and we're going to move on to a Texas rig. I'm going to put a bobber stopper on it to stop the weight moving up and down the line. So to put a bobber stopper on, you literally get these little guys, slide your line through the top of the eye of the bobber stoppers, and there's your bobber stopper on. Adjust it up the line. Once that's up the line, you're going to take your little Texas sinker. I've got a little tungsten here. I like a green tungsten, just makes me feel confident. I'm going to thread that on. You put the point of the sinker facing up your line towards the rod, so that's going to sit, so it just gives your bait a nice streamline. And then for a hook, we're going to throw a little rage crawl. So I'm going to rig a 3/0 wide gap Gamakatsu. Here's your wide gap Gamakatsus. Going for 3/0, it just matches the bait size really well. We're going to tie our Palomar knot quickly. You can watch how to tie that properly in one of our other videos, but there's your hook going on just the basic Palomar. Tying that down. And the nice thing with this for Texas rigging, you can flip it into nice structure. It's especially nice for vertical structure. So you can put the bait in without having that leader line on a mojo rig that's going to wrap around. Just got a lot more control. And yeah, it's a rig you've got to learn. It's a nice one for beginners as well. You can fish it slowly on the bottom, just hopping it along the bottom. You can flip it into like this reed structure we've got off to our right here. Here I'm just putting on a little rage crawl. Just a little crawfish imitation. We don't really get many crawfish here. There are some dams in South Africa that get craws. But, I mean, again, you're just appealing to a bass's aggressive nature. And I even think this thing swimming through the water just looks like a little fish. So it doesn't even have to imitate a crawl. There's those legs flipping at the back there. Looks like a nice tail. So there's your Texas rig. You've got your bobber stopper stopping that sinker from moving so it doesn't slide down. Again, just keeps good control. And when you're fishing over weed and that, the sinker doesn't sink into a pocket of the weed. So we showed you how to rig the Texas bait. Right now we're going to fish it very similar to when we fish the weightless bait along the reed lines here. So what's really nice is you can cast it to the edge of the deeper weeds. You're going to get a faster sink rate, which is sometimes a benefit. Get it down onto the bottom. Then we're just going to work it slowly, retrieving it along the bottom, looking for a fish that's just cruising those lines. Then after that, we're going to go fish some vertical structure, go flip it into some of the reed, like weed patches, and then also stand-up reeds, and yeah, I'll show you those two different techniques. So let's see if we can catch some fish. I'm just letting the bait sink down. I've cast this a whole bunch of weed here and it drops off into deeper water. We've cast it onto the edge there, letting the bait there. You'll see the bait suddenly, you'll see your line dropping down, and then suddenly it'll go slack. That means you're on the bottom and you can begin with your retrieve if you want. If you notice that your bait never seems to want to stop, that's probably because a fish has picked it up and swum off with it. So watch out for that. You kind of get to get a feel for that as you fish more and more. You fish different depths of water and you'll get to know when your bait should have hit the bottom already. Because sometimes it's not like a flicker in the line, that line just keeps on cruising off. So now we're just working it slowly at the bottom. I give it the odd twitch. Those legs are doing the work on this bait. So as you're winding it, those little legs are flapping at the back there, and hopefully that'll tease a fish into biting. So we're just going to carry on working along this weed line, fishing the deeper edge there, and yeah, see if we can pick up a bait fish. Good fish. Such a good fish. Yes, he tore off. Jeepers, I thought he was big. Ripped it to pieces. Yes, he felt like a good fish. That thing was so strong. So I just flipped it into that little pocket. Yeah, what a strong fish. Tiny little pound jobby, but man, he was fun to catch. Tore the bait to pieces. Nothing left. There's what's left of the little creature from that little fish, and he hit it so hard I thought that was a 4-pounder at least. Hey, amazing how strong they are. Thanks little fishy, gave me a good fight there. Okay, so today on Boskop we fished a rage tail. It's a rage core. As mentioned in the video, we don't have many core fish in South Africa, and we definitely don't have them out at Boskop. So with this bait, you pretty much imitating a little fish in that, or just appealing to a bass's aggressive nature. We paired that up with a 3-0 wide gamgatsu and a little tungsten Texas rig sinker. The fishing wasn't particularly great with the Texas rig. We were flipping it into a few pockets. Unfortunately, the weed had really grown and thickened out as it's warmed up. That weed growth has choked up a lot of the nicer pockets. So it was hard to show you where we would normally be flipping that into. And we still managed to get some fish, and it's still a bait. So I'd really encourage you to go out and get good at fishing, practice your pitching. We mentioned you can cast it out and fish it slowly along the bottom, just letting those little tails work, and you don't need to throw a rage core on it. You can throw an array of soft plastic baits with a Texas rig, everything from a stretch 40, which is like a worm with a tail, to a lizard bait, to even a Senko. A lot of guys throw, I don't typically like to throw a Senko with the Texas rig, but guys do it. So that's what's really nice as well. It's really versatile. You can find something that you really like to fish. So did work today. We got some fish, and it's often a fun bait to fish, and sometimes it can really outfish everything else because you're able to pitch it into little pockets that you can't throw a mojo rig, you can't throw a jerk bait, you can't even get a spinnerbait in there and fish it effectively. So there's times where that Texas rig will outfish absolutely everything. It wasn't like that today, but we showed you how to do it. Get it into the back of little pockets, or fish on the outside if you want to, and you're going to go out to catch fish.